picked up something very unique recently. I don't have anything else like this in my collection. It's the original manuscript that Allan wrote in the 1980s for his autobiography. And I actually, when I got this, I wasn't sure what was going to be in this folder. I didn't have images of all the pages, so I was pleasantly surprised that it seems like it's pretty much a complete manuscript. Maybe not 100% complete, but tons of really interesting tidbits in here, stories from his playing days. There's a lot in here that kind of takes you through his travels. I thought this was a really interesting page that talks about some of his observations in India. For example, coming across legless beggars, some of the great food that he ate, but also some bad bad situations like cockroaches in his food and stuff, snake charmers. Anyway, it was really interesting to kind of see his raw notes that he took as he was recounting or recapping a lot of his most interesting experiences and stories as a cricketer for Australia. Now, Allan Border, his name doesn't come up as much anymore when we talk about the absolute greatest batsman of all time, but a very, very significant player, was the greatest Australian batter of his era. And for 12 years, he had the record of the most test runs. So that's a record that gets talked about a lot now because Joe Root is chasing the record that now is owned by Sachin Tendulkar. But for 12 years, from 1993 until 2005, Allan Border had that record, which is one of the most prestigious and meaningful numbers in cricket. And obviously, the guys from the old days didn't play as many tests, right? So it's not exactly a fair fight when guys today are playing 250 plus innings, and in the old days they maybe only played 80 or whatever. But still, really, it just shows the longevity and the effectiveness. He ended his career with a batting average over 50, which is that kind of waterline for the most important batsman that broke 50. It's a hard number to hit, and to do it for that long is really impressive. And he has a really cool story in here about how he was given the opportunity to be the captain of Australia and how that conversation went, which was really interesting to read. He's got really good handwriting, so it's actually nice to be able to actually sit down and read the manuscript. But as I read it, I also figured, wow, I would love to understand how this actually got translated to the book itself. So I was able to find a copy of the actual book. And sure enough, reading through a lot of the different sections here, the book is very much written like the notes. So there's chapters that kind of go through stories. And there's a chapter on India, and there's a chapter on when he becomes the captain. Here it is, the captaincy. So it was really cool to see what he had originally written up and how, through editing, and I'm sure there was maybe a little bit of ghostwriting in there, right? I think most athlete biographies are, heavily helped by a professional writer. But a lot of the content's still there. So it was really, really cool to see that. And, just an item I cherish in my collection, to see that this was his original thoughts and notes as he was creating this book, was really cool. Looked like he kind of summarized some of his India thoughts. Again, the legless beggar story is in the book, and he kind of talks about how he felt bad for these kids that were begging, and some of them intentionally maybe had limbs removed so that they would be more effective beggars. And just his thoughts, seeing the world and experiencing things he had never experienced. It's pretty cool to see. So I didn't count the number of pages here, but probably somewhere around 50 or more. Here's a Melbourne test against the Palms in '83, where he just goes through even some of the mundane, waking up, getting to the Oval and all those kind of things. Just really, really cool stories. So very happy to pick that up. And, I really like autographs. I think it's cool to hold something in your hand that a player really, held and took even those 2 seconds to write their name. That kind of iconic scribble, right? That's kind of what autographs are. It's kind of silly when you think about that. It's like it represents 2 seconds of someone's time. And this to me is just kind of a bigger version of that, right? Someone actually spent the time to write down all these really interesting thoughts about their life and their view of the world and their experience. And it just happens to be one of the greats. So that's a really cool item I got. And then Richie Benaud also got an article that he wrote for the Sydney Daily Mirror. I actually haven't been able to dig this up. I was looking on AI and trying to figure out, hey, can you help me find this article? I've not been able to find it yet. It seems like Sydney Daily Mirror did not digitize most of their content from this era. So I might have to go to, I don't know, the library, the Australian library or something like that to find it. So if anyone knows how to get the digital copy of this or some images of the article, would much appreciate any help. Because we'd love to see that too. I just like to compare and see, how did these notes get translated into an actual article. But that's really cool too. Benaud, not only a Hall of Fame player, a fantastic cricketer, but considered, the voice of cricket for a generation as a commentator and a writer. So cool to pick up something that he put on paper as well. So not cards, not my typical content, but just really, really cool items, and hope, especially for my Australian friends, that this was kind of interesting.